Hello and welcome to day 44, 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tom Nyback. Welcome back again. Great to see you. Get right to it. Let's introduce our inspiration for these talks on Black life in America and white power, privilege, entitlement, all the above. We're talking about slavery, racism, and how all these things connect into a very complicated, intricate system, and how we need to be sober, vigilant, and very active um, in our thinking and our attitude, very honest about anyone's life in America, black, white, red, brown, and yellow. Dr. Claude Anderson is my inspiration. I draw a lot of information from his work, his videos, um, his books. I've read 3 of his. He still tours and speaks on these issues. He's much more articulate than I. Please visit PowerNomics.com or the Heritage Institute, and you'll get a good idea of his mission and his burden. First book I read was A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Very informative and enlightening to talk about Black issues, what we're owed, things the government is balking at as far as reparations and things like that. Black labor, white wealth. Dr. Anderson's, I think, overall burden is that blacks don't participate enough economically, and the main reason for that is white oppression and apathy towards black folks. And black folks have some responsibility in the argument as well, but we didn't get to where we're at by accident. We were brought here. We were enslaved, compelled, and stripped of identity. So a lot of that burden goes on white shoulders. And finally, his national plan to empower Black America, PowerNomics, very important work where he illustrates, lays out some specific steps that the Black community can take to reclaim and find finally a seat at the economic table here in America and participate in the wealth and resources. But it's a long way to go. The book was written some years ago. He wanted to see, I guess, fruition of his plan by 2005. It's now 2019. I don't see a whole lot of movement except for our black superstars in sports, entertainment, singing, game show hosts, things like that. Some host journalism in CNN and areas like that, CBS. But you don't see the black community together making real headways at America's table of wealth and resources. Also, we're going to have story time every once in a while. We'll check in on old Tom and see how he's doing and as he navigates the America's slavery landscape. We've met him in Kentucky. He's been sold a little further south. We're checking in every once in a while to see how his life as a slave progresses. And we try to relate that here back to the 21st century. The book was written by Harriet Beecher Stowe back in the mid-1800s. I find and I believe it is very impactful and influential in understanding black life today. A lot of stereotypes come from her novel there. We get blackface from her work there. Begins as a theatrical, expression and degrades into a pejorative, negative ideas about black people, about the relationship between whites and blacks. You know, you can ask the Jews. They know what it's like to be initially be the focus of satire and how that can morph into some pretty demonic Holocaust level experiences, you know, from being a joke to being totally manipulated and dominated by evil, um, just outright murdered at the hands of evil. So, you know, be careful of how these jokes start out. I said, and I mentioned blackface because that's an issue now. Here, it's resurfaced in America. Things kind of go cyclical, and history repeats itself. If you're familiar with those phrases, so blackface is coming out, and we're finding some politicians have participated in blackface in the past, and a lot of people are up in arms about that. So welcome. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. Again, this is day 44. We're moving right along and passing some milestones and maintaining our commitment to come together. I thank everyone who writes. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends. Share this. Get the word out, because these issues are a long way off in absolute resolution, because we're trying to deal with the heart of man. You can't make legislation. If you got to make a law about it, it means it's something that persists inside a person. You can't make a law to dispel attitudes and prejudices. You can make it illegal to express them outwardly, but you can't change the heart. You can't change the heart. So, long way to go for that. Day 44. We're going to revisit education, and through the year, we're going to revisit a lot of things, and a lot of aspects. And back a month ago, I gave maybe some broad overviews, but as the year progresses and I can interact and understand the material better articulate it, we're going to focus in little by little. And I relate this is my own actual personal project, but I relate this to myself. I want to have some healing, understanding. I was at a point in my life where I was hitting walls and brick walls, and a lot of people in my circles, which I travel in white circles, would not understand my difficulties and my complaints about where I was and stuff. And Dr. Anderson articulates, validates, verifies, affirms a lot of how I felt, what I thought. So this is my little personal mission. So today we're revisiting education, and we're going to talk, about, a little bit about education proper, or public education. That's really, I've got some college experience. I got a associate's degree, got, through community college, and committed to finishing up my bachelor's this year into next year. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but at the end, I want to give a little twist on education. So I'm going to come out of PowerNomics, page 95, Dr. Anderson's work here. And the beginning of his book, he lays a lot of foundation for his argument, and then at the end, of course, it goes into specific steps to empower Black America. But he covers every area: spiritual, educational, vocational, personal relationships, community, neighborhoods, economics, business, entrepreneurship. All these things are included. So he speaks on education here. So this stuck out to me today. I'm going to quote a portion of a paragraph. If blacks are going to eliminate the myths about why they have not achieved, they must understand that structural racism forced Black Americans to lift themselves in reverse, putting education and social goals before economics. Let me repeat a little bit of that last piece again. In reverse, by putting education and social goals before economics. Education and social goals, what he's saying, he talks about this, you can hear it in his YouTube videos and through the books, how black folks settled for symbols. You know, I got a high school diploma. I did well in school, graduated AB average from high school. You know, and I got that symbol, but had no access, inroads to the next step in my life, and I had no clue what to do. So I had a nice symbol, 4 years, bust over a considerable distance to a white, predominantly white school, and vocational, things like that. You know, the opportunities were there, but as a black, young black man, black person, I had no idea what next steps. You know, my town had one grocery store. When McDonald's came in, that was a big deal. You know, uh, old woodsy, old little dusty town that there wasn't a whole lot to aspire for or to. I wasn't encouraged to get businesses started, and had no sense of entitlement or empowerment. You know, I was just like some kind of drone going there 4 straight years to high school and elementary school and all that too. You know, the point is, like, he's saying black folks aren't, we feel so good about the symbol and we have no idea about accessing um, ownership, of control, things like that in America that we see other races exercising with ease. Okay, so um, we've got to reverse or upend our belief system. We're in an economic situation. Our problem is access to wealth and resources. You know, I wouldn't even care how a person felt about me as long as they're not standing in the way of my um, desire to ascend, live comfortably, live well, um, to have access to resources when my car breaks down, have a car, period. um, Maintaining, um, all of the, responsibilities that come with uh, ownership. You know, if I have a car, then I want to maintain fuel, insurance, payments if it's a new car and things like that. You know, I don't want to be struggling here in America. You know, it's an economic problem. I'll tell you something else real quick as a side note. I was watching some commercials, and you got companies now offering to purchase life insurance policies or portions of life insurance policies. And it's directed at the elderly. And like more and more, I'm seeing how these funds that the elderly invested in, I'm talking white folks now, they invested in these things, um, programs and whatever, and their ends aren't meeting. They got to come out of retirement and go work at Walmart some more and shore up their life savings and things like that. Like, that should not be the status quo. I'm seeing this emerging trend here in America. It's by design, but um, so black folks, I mean, you can't work forever. no matter how physically friendly a job may be. I mean, you got to slow down eventually, and it's not right that the system works like that. See, so for blacks to come out of an educational experience uh, ill-equipped to lay a foundation so that they can retire, that's an economic ignorance happening there, and it must be. Well, we can just expose it now. I don't know the specific steps. I know for me, I came out of a school and everything, and my happy ass with my little accomplishment and all that, but no skill. Um, I didn't have a next step about what I was going to do in America. I graduated high school and became a couch potato. My mom had to encourage me to do something with my life. Um, so that was, you know, that should not be the way life goes in America, full of wealth. And participating in access, about real tangible results for a person's life should not be some foreign, mysterious process in America. My education and my white education is the perception is so different, so different. I'm preparing for work. All I can think about is work and getting my hands dirty and some physical, working hard thing. But from a white perspective, um, in general, they have a better outlook on what their education means for them. I had no idea. Um, I was in an extremely challenging vocational class. I learned electronics and things like that. And my perception, my next steps um, look much different from the next steps for my counterparts in the same class, same curriculum, education, access to instructors and everything. It's different. Whites see management, ownership, entrepreneurship, and black people see work and being an employee somewhere, and things like that. And all of that has been just so dismantled over the last few years that, I mean, the whole economic system landscape with internet and all this, it's just so changed, right? So I'm sitting there investing and being there, but when I'm on the cusp of enormous educational change in America, um, that should not be so. There needs to be more vision, more foresight for the young here, for all colors in America. So it's, you sit there for 12, 13 years of life with no understanding what the next step is. So Dr. Anderson puts it in very clear terms. It's an economic puzzle question to be answered and dealt with. Now, having said all that, I want to talk about a little bit about the most important education anybody can get. Listen, we can learn how to walk dogs, build rockets, do brain surgery, uh, construct buildings, be part of, be administrative assistants, caregivers. Well, there's a lot of, we can be functional in a lot of ways with a lot of people, but we need to understand first, foundationally, how and why money works in America and in the world in general, how somebody's currencies, somebody's money, thousands of miles away in a whole nother country can impact American markets. How America 2008, just from a lot of greed and a lot of mismanagement, I won't go into the specifics about what happened, how that blew up and put people out of work. People on the other side of the world globe are suffering and things like that. And we need education. Like if I got like Dr. Anderson, if I was able to penetrate and influence education, I would say, hey, we got to give the children, give all children. So, you know, I want to give black children, but here's me. I need to compromise, and I don't want to. But if it's public school, it's public money. It's for everybody. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. I want to say all children need to understand, before they go getting credit, squandering, wasting money. We need to know economically what's the impact of that. What's the future of that? When I put that dollar out there, what exactly is it doing? Is it supporting a race that's hostile to me? That's a question I've just started asking myself. I've been walking this earth for decades, and when I go into a Walmart, which is just a Chinese outlet consignment space, I need to know that, okay, I might not have any alternatives, but at least I need to know that my dollar is going towards a group of people who do not reciprocate my people financially and business-wise. I need to know that, like, maybe I don't have an alternative, but it's good to know, like, to have some type of consciousness around that. I need to know about Federal Reserves and central banks and currency. And I don't think that it's not something you need to keep away from the youth. Stop shielding the youth, which we don't do. That's done anyway with the internet and the evening news. The youth aren't shielded anymore and don't need to be have information withheld. I don't understand this thing. Keep somebody in ignorance, and then the problem is nobody comes along at an appropriate time to educate people who've been in darkness. Right? This stuff, I'm self-taught a lot of this stuff, through YouTube, and I'm buying books, and now I'm going crazy trying to catch up. At least, but the best thing I've been able to do at this time is to stop digging financial holes and stop creating all kinds of assets for other people. My debt is someone's asset, and that's an economic truth. That's called a transaction. That's an economic truth. But nobody tells you that. That they make it seem like I've done such a bad thing and all that. But when these cycles, I create a cycle when I go into debt. I create a cycle, and someone benefits from that. That's a kind of paranoia suspicion I've had about my own life for a long time. And when I didn't even have money, I said, my situation, because I spent a lot of times homeless and shelters and stuff like that, rehabbing. My situation is somebody's benefit. Someone staying employed. There's a board of directors over a facility that, there are interests there that because my body occupies this space, someone benefits. The system's not as benevolent as it wants to appear to be. It's just not that altruistic and giving. It's getting something back every time. So we need to understand central banks' currency. It'd be nice, maybe come through school with a mock company and play at trading with different classrooms and things like that. You don't need to go to business school and go into thousands of dollars of debt to learn these fundamentals. We could do it right there in public school, and you build a strong America. You build a strong economy because people are making informed financial decisions and not haphazardly throwing money here and there, and not keeping budgets and being mindful of where the resources are going and not understanding. That's unacceptable, America. This country it presents this altruistic picture, this picture of inclusiveness and giving, yet it's mysteriously silent on uh, important issues that could keep people out of a whole lot of trouble. That would give people more sense of taking some time to gather resources, to take some time to um, get our wants and needs met. Now, on the other side, now it's very deliberate in my mind that this information is not readily taught and available at the public level, at the young mind level. I envy any young person whose parents, like in the home where these things are taught and understood. Most of like I said, I travel in white circles. These are things that people have been practicing and socking away money and understand that they've been doing that. They were encouraged by their parents since their early teenage years. Wow. I'm blown away by that. But I finally started somewhere. So it's by design, and it's by design because, I'm sorry, the ignorance of the issue is hidden by design because my guess is that corporate America, like the way the system is rigged, it's imperative that debt and assets and financial issues continue. So debt is made available. They don't tell you, hey, you should use this for an asset. An asset is something that's going to generate some income. An asset is going to pay for itself over time. That's a very abbreviated idea of assets, but this money's not for just screwing off. A percentage of that is disposable. Go to the movies, have a burger. You know, but you're supposed to get a house, get a car. Find a way to have that generate some income. That's an asset. That's good debt. Okay, um, but the way things, but it's the way the financial system is presented is you're not um, fulfilling your purpose unless you're wasting money somewhere, right? The wise people know that's a lie. They don't even listen to that. That's emotional. It's skeptical. It's very problematic, But the ignorant, as I was, say, yeah, it's time to get a gold chain, buy a burger, buy new musical instruments, and be flamboyant and all that. No, 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 no. But the system, it, it's a whole nother video. I hope maybe by the end of this year I can articulate it. But I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks very closely. The system cannot tolerate stagnation. It breaks down, and it could really, that's another issue that can hurt world international economics. We're talking about depressions and recessions and things like that, deflations. These terms are now starting to understand them. So the system can't stagnate. So it 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 must generate. It must move. And do it. And it does that. You know, I'll finish with this. The system stays alive on the emotionalism, the skepticism, the ignorance of the masses, and this Leviathan, this juggernaut, just keeps going on and on. If we educate ourselves, if we educate the young, we'd see some differences. We'd find other ways, but big, major, heavyweight people benefit from the machine moving. They don't care. They don't care what the fallout is. Lives shattered, people broke, working beyond their years, living beyond their means. That's unacceptable. So I wish I had a more upbeat message today. And this message is actually inclusive of everyone, but you're here, I guess, with black interest, which it very well is, more so than other times. Anyway, I'm going to end there. I'm running over, and I don't want to ramble. I don't want to waste your time. I know it's precious. Thanks for stopping in. That's day 44 out of the way. I'm Tomlin's Nyback, and that's 365 days towards racial change.